I remembered an interesting corollary to a certain rule that I was discussing a few years ago. You know what that rule is? God gave us the commandments because he knew that people have yetzer haras for things. So I said the first time I realized this, the first time I saw someone testify falsely in court, I happened to be aware, like, oh, that guy's lying in court. The judges found out, like eventually proof came out that this guy had just uttered a lie, testimony. I said, what type of person does that type of avera? And then I realized if it's an avera, if it says, thou shalt not testify falsely against thy neighbor, you can, bet that there are people out there who have a yetzer hara to do such a thing. So if the Torah tells you not to commit murder, it's because there are people there who have a yetzer hara for murder. Might not be the majority of us. It's a vast minority, thank God. Most people do lashon hara. That's their sin. But if the Torah says not to do it, it's because there are people who are doing that, right?
There's got one guy so far as a yetzer hara.
There were people back then. The Rambam said that was connected to the avodah zarah, but certain superstitious beliefs that the crops would grow better. The crops would go better if you did this act of avodah zarah that required using shatnez. That's what they really believe. People had yetzer haras for these things. They thought that by mixing things, dafka grafting things and mixing different species of animals and plants would curry the gods' favor. Okay, gods, plural, gods. That's what they used to believe. So they did that. A lot of it's yetzer hara. And then God gave us, Jewish people, certain commandments because of our kind and gentle nature. We are Baishana Rachmanim Golnei Chasadim. We are shy, we are kind, and we are merciful, right? Genetically speaking, we're like that. So the Torah gave us certain commandments that we have to get over in order to protect ourselves. I said the laws of Milchama, basically. The laws that we have to go to war sometimes. The laws that we have to destroy the Canaanim and the Amalekites. Most especially Amalekites. It's not because the Torah was given by bloodthirsty people, bloodthirsty prophets of a bloodthirsty people. It's that we are kind and compassionate. And that if we did not have the commandment, we would not do it. We would rather be killed. I said, the Bulgarians and the Russians and the Chinese, they don't need a mitzvah to fight a war. They'll fight a war, especially if it's for self-defense. Kal v'chomer, they also make aggressive wars. Bulgarians less than the Russians, but you get the idea. But the Jewish people would not do such a thing. When was the last time the Jewish people made an aggressive war?
What, were they declared war on someone?
Yeah, an aggressive war of aggression started by Jews. Did he?
Didn't he go and conquer places?
They attacked him first. Says even about Yeshua's war of conquest of Canaan. Yes, it started first. They started a little bit, but mostly says in 3 waves. The Canaanim, by Canaanim using the general Canaanim, they gathered up against him. After they knew that the offer was for peace, they said, no, we're going to attack first. We're going to join into a conglomeration, and we are going to win this. So they attacked him. Isn't that funny? David HaMelech also, a lot of his conquests, especially toward the north, was not that he decided, you know what, now I'm going to go conquer. Yes, he should have decided to conquer the rest of Eretz Canaan. That was more to the west, to the north and to the west, along the Levantine coast, where the Phoenicians were. He was supposed to have done that, but he ended up conquering northeast toward, Damascus and beyond. Why? Because he was attacked by them. What he did to the Philistines, eventually he says, one pasuk in Sefer Shmuel has it. He took the throne, the Philistines attacked him. And eventually that, war, he pushed them all the way back, and then he took over their areas. Gaza became a fully Jewish city in the times of King David, as we mentioned before. That's when he finally beat them and conquered them and took over the place. But they had started with him. Isn't that funny? Yeah. So we barely have any actual wars of aggression in recorded Jewish history. Yeah, very few. Well, maybe once a millennium or something like that. So why am I saying this? Because there's another commandment that says lo sikhu kofer. What does that mean?
Don't take a
Kofar means that the murderer can get off on the murder rap if he pays a high enough ransom or restitution or something, blood money. Now, the yetzer hara for someone to want to pay such a thing is universal. You can imagine any court in any time and place among any humans that the murderer would seek to pay whatever money so as not to face the death penalty, right?
Okay.
Especially if he has the money. And even if he didn't have the money, he tried to tell whatever he could. He would want to pay his way away from having to pay with his own life, correct? The Yetzer Hara, the commandment is do not pay. It says do not receive, do not accept it. The commandment, as we have it, is for the judges. Why? Or for the family. Basically, it's that the judges don't allow the family to make such an arrangement. The family of the victim. Now, why is that a uniquely Jewish mitzvah? Because in most places, most normal societies, I'm not talking about Jews specifically, most normal societies, if you had a man who was brought up on a murder charge, and the family is aware of this, the family of the victim is aware of this, what is the family of the victim pressing for?
Modern society or
And it's most societies throughout history, and even in modern society,
punishment?
they want him punished. In places where there's a death penalty, they're always advocating. They bring in witnesses and they want to lobby that the judge render the death penalty. Right? That's what they want to hear. They want to hear a conviction of a death penalty. They want justice. Some places they're a little bit less. They're a little bit more uncouth, and they say they want blood. Right? They should play with blood. That's a normal, healthy reaction to the murder of one's loved one. So it's the family that's pressing for the strictest justice. The family's not sitting there thinking, you know what, maybe, give us a lot of money, give us $1 million, and, maybe we'll call it, we'll call it a day. The family's not sitting around looking to take a kofar. However, this commandment was given to Jewish judges. Why? Because when you're dealing with Jews, there are many Jews, even the families of the victim, and the judges also, who are sitting there with their Jewish minds, their kind, compassionate Jewish minds, and thinking that perhaps it is a superior form of justice to allow the murderer not to be killed and to have to make some sort of restitution instead. That's why the command is lo sikhu chofer. Don't receive a ransom. Because the Yetzer Hara is from the ones who are receiving it. So my point is that this prohibition, lo sikhu kofer, is specifically to the Jewish people because of their nature.